Welcome back to another episode of the Bleed Lows podcast. We're going live to mentally, emotionally, and physically prepare for the National League Division Series as the Los Angeles Dodgers are gearing up to host the wild card winning San Diego Padres for the third time in 5 years. But before that, we're going to get the business side out of all of this, and we all know the drill with BetOnline. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. Even though October baseball is going on right now, football is a big thing. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of the $200,000 weekly pool. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on our game of blackjack, poker, or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today and get in on the action. Bet online. The game starts here. And like I said, we are live. We are a couple days away from the National League Division Series getting ready to get underway. If you're just finishing watching the Mets and Brewers play, the Mets pull off a fantastic, crazy comeback. Honestly, guys, and the postseason, there was a couple sweeps in the wild card series. That's kind of been the norm the past, 2-3 years. It's been in the league, but this Mets series kind of is getting my blood pumping for what's awaiting Saturday. And we were just talking about it before we went on air, but two really big divisional matchups between divisional opponents. And you got the West Coast teams in the Dodgers, Padres, and the East Coast teams in the Phillies and Mets. So, but yeah, how are you guys feeling about this upcoming series against the San Diego Padres? Mike, we'll go with you first.
I'm actually feeling pretty good about it. I'm not too worried. Well, I shouldn't say I'm not too worried about the Padres. I mean, it's going to be a good series. I think it's going to be very competitive. A little bit of surprise. Yamamoto is pitching, game one. But after the explanation and how it was explained and read and everything, it makes some sense. But no, I'm pretty pumped about it. I'll be at game two. So I got tickets for Sunday's game, because I thought Yamamoto was going to be pitching on Sunday. So, but no, like I said, I'm pretty excited about it, and I'm really not that worried about it, actually.
Alrighty, and then before I go to you, Carlos, before everybody asks in the chat, where's Juan, where's Roger? They are on assignment. Roger was actually just at the stadium. He should be joining us either midway or before the end of the episode, kind of going over the team's workout, everything that they, announced today, like Mike alluded to, with Yamamoto being actually bumped up to the game one starter. We're going to get in all in that and everything today. Keep it going in the chat. Ask questions. Keep the conversation going. You all know how to get to the front of the line. Super chats is how you get in. We'll try our best to read the comments as we're going here. But Carlos, let me hear from you, because I know the past couple of weeks we've been talking, like leading up to October, with the Dodgers and all of our fans, we have October on our mind. Was this the favorable matchup for you? Did you want the Padres to come to Chavez Ravine on Saturday, or were you hoping the Braves pulled out a 2-game win?
Nope, this is the way it should be. I think for the Dodgers to shut all the doubt, the people who cast doubt on the Dodgers. I mean, even Dodger fans, man. I've been texting people back and forth, and there's some guys like, "Oh my God, everybody's predicting the Padres to win." I saw some ESPN poll saying like 22 of 27 experts picked the Padres to win. Look, if the Dodgers want these people to shut the hell up, this is how you do it. You got to play the top teams, that being the Padres, Phillies, and Yankees. You got to play the top teams to be the best. And this is the way I want it. That's why you and I were talking about not trying to be second to avoid the Padres. No, let's win games, just like the Dodgers did finish the season with the 5-game winning streak. And now we're going to play a good Padres team that we beat 2 out of 3 in the last homestand. And that was a legit game. I was there at 2 of the 3 games, and those games had that playoff vibe, and that's just how it's going to be. It's going to be, I mean, I'm not going to any games, unfortunately, but it's going to be, I can imagine how ruckus it's going to be at the stadium. And, I know we'll touch on key, who are the X factors. And so I won't say anything right now. But yeah, I'm excited. This is the way I wanted it to be.
Yeah, before we get into, the nitty-gritty of, breaking down this series, our predictions, kind of what are we watching, key players and all that, you know, did you guys like watch the previous wild card series between the Braves and the Padres? I knew going into it that it was probably a long shot that the Braves were going to move on. As much as I said, the ideal matchup would to be to face Atlanta. Being on the East Coast, around a lot of the National League East teams, Braves have been beat up pretty bad, especially down the stretch. They lost Ronald Acuna at the beginning of the year. They lost Spencer Strider. Their starting rotation was actually one of the best in baseball. I believe it was the best in all of baseball in terms of team ERA. And Chris Sale was a massive reason for that. But then he was even out down the stretch, not able to start in that doubleheader against the Mets, and then was out for the wild card series. And they ended up just kind of throwing it all out there and losing in those two quick games. But Mike, what did you see from the Padres playing the Braves? Is there something that you think will, come into this series against the Dodgers, or did the Padres just outplay the Braves in all assets of the game? What were your takeaways from this series?
I wouldn't say that the Padres actually outplayed the Braves. The biggest thing that I took away, because I was watching the game on and off, was catching little clips of it. One thing that I really noticed was the Padres came out, they were playing like they normally play. The crowd was like super into it, which was pretty legit. I mean, they were like totally into it. And then after they took the second game, everybody was like, "Oh, the Padres are going to beat the Dodgers and they're going to do this." Well, I'm not really buying that, because in game one, the Padres, or not the Padres, the Braves flew in, came in, landed into California, had that time change, so they're going to be a little flat, like most teams are when they're traveling. So I wasn't expecting them to do a whole lot, for that game, maybe keep it close, which they really didn't. But game two, I mean, the Padres won 5-4 and beat a team that is totally beat up, and has a lot of injuries. And so I wasn't really impressed with with the Padres like everybody was saying, especially with how the Dodgers played them, in their 3-game series, and played them very well. And I don't know, man. I just don't have that feeling of the Padres are going to come in and just whoop up on the Dodgers. I have the feeling it's going to be a really good close game. But and I know we're going to do some predictions later, but I think it's going to be a really good game. But I don't think it's going to be a blowout like everybody thinks it's going to be.
Yeah, Carlos, I love watching baseball. I know you love watching baseball. Did you get a chance to watch both of those games? Were you trying to analyze anything the Padres did or didn't do? Because, being analyst, you're an analyst now, Carlos. You got to kind of take in the information on the screen. So, did you see anything interesting in those two games? And, what are your feelings about playing the Padres again? Because, Mike already alluded to it. There's a lot of ill will towards the Padres. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of frustration. A lot of fans didn't want this matchup. I know you already said you wanted the best teams, to come play the Dodgers, but what did you see from the Padres those first two games of the postseason?
Well, the thing that stands out would be King. The way King pitched against the Braves. he went 7 innings, 12 strikeouts, 5 hits. When he pitched with the Dodgers, he also allowed an unearned run, but he only struck out like 3 batters. So, the Dodgers just recently faced him. I don't know if he's going to pitch in this series, unless I guess obviously if the series goes 4 or 5 games, he'll definitely pitch. So I'm not worried about that. I mean, Musgrove threw I think a 3 2/3, came out because of injury. I just read that he's most likely not going to pitch for the rest of the postseason, so they lost him. So I was looking back at the old stats from 2022, and the whole thing is just, I mean, it's just completely a different team now. We won the first game that Julio was pitching that game against Clevenger, who's no longer with the Padres. The second game, it was Darvish. Darvish is the only guy that won the game during that series that's still around. So, and Darvish, we know historically, as long as he's not pitching at Dodger Stadium for the Dodgers, he can pitch. If he's pitching for the Dodgers, he's junk, right? So Darvish, I mean, I think that's tough. I think we hit well against Cease. I'm not worried about Cease. I'm not worried about I don't know if they're going to bring up. I think Perez was an option, but Darvish would probably be the only one because he's got a chip on his shoulder when he pitches against the Dodgers. Doesn't like the Dodgers. Doesn't like the organization. So offensive wise, and now that we're going to bring it up, I think the X factor is Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts needs to play. He needs to be batting 300. If you look at his last, his last 7 games, he's batting 125. His last 15 games, he's batting 222. That. I mean, I'm sure he knows this. I hope he didn't have a podcast again with any Padres players, and he doesn't during the series. So, he's got to step it up. I think he's the X factor. The other things I noticed on the break, I mean, the second game, I mean, anybody could have kind of won that game. I mean, that shot that I think it was Soler hits to center field and Jackson kind of misreads the ball. He makes a nice catch. I mean, that could have gone for a double. They could have got the tie. They could have tied the game. It could have gone a different way. Game one, definitely the Padres dominated. King looked good. So, I'm not – it's going to be a good series. Don't get me wrong. It's not going to be Dodgers going to win 10-0, 8-0, 6-0 sweep. We're moving on. No, it's going to be tough. It's probably going to go 5 games, and it's good baseball. It's good baseball for everybody. Yeah, is it good for your heart rate and stuff like that, for your blood pressure? Probably not. But for as a fan to watch a game, man, it's going to be good baseball.
Yeah, my takeaways from the series, the Braves, Mike got to a great point. Braves play a doubleheader the day before, fly all the way across from the East Coast to the West Coast, get the time change. Then they have the wild card game later that night. It's not a good recipe for success, and they really didn't look like a good baseball team at all that first game. The second game, it got really interesting, especially late in the game, and that kind of goes to the point where I understand why Dodger fans, including myself, I see the Braves coming in, and I'm like, man, I just get flashbacks to 2022, especially playing in Petco Park, those final 2 games. Not good memories for me. Not good memories for anybody. I don't think I want to relive that experience again. I would even say it's worse than last year getting swept because, at least, you get blown out in the first game. You already sets you up, your mindset is to fail for the rest of the series, where the Dodgers won that first game of the 2022 NLDS and ended up just losing the next, 3 straight games. So it can't happen again. There's a lot of things to digest about this Padres team, but, they're beatable. And I think we should know that by now. You guys have both alluded to it as well, where the Dodgers, they took 2 or 3 against San Diego when it mattered. That was, what we said was pretty much postseason baseball. The last week of the season, it was a must-win series for both teams, and the Dodgers ended up probably playing their most clutch and best baseball of the entire season. The pitching was great, the bullpen was excellent, and the situational hitting was amazing. It was something that I haven't seen the Dodgers do in a long time, where I know Mike has made his point known, where it seems like sometimes they go too much boom or bust. This Padres team, they have the exact opposite approach. They will hit you to death. They will single you to death. It's exactly what they did to Max Fried. They were little rinky-dinky hits, infield hits, but they, get guys on base, put the pressure on the defense, and put a ball in play, and runs just come. The other thing with the Padres is that as good as their bullpen is, it has not been good as of late. And, over their last 7 appearances for some of their arms, like Ranger or Robert Suarez, he has a 5.14 ERA in 7 innings. Tanner Scott, his ERA's doubled since being traded to the Padres. Matsui, the lefty, he has an ERA almost at 7. And Wandy Peralta, another lefty. These are lefties that are going to be used to go against Freddie Freeman, and specifically against Shohei Ohtani. They do not look sharp right now. And Jason Adam, another reliever that was really good for the Padres down the stretch, he almost blew that game in the second game, and it made things a lot closer than what it was the first, what do you want to say, like 12 innings of that series. So I think they're beatable. I still am a little scared, just the entire shadow of failure that's following this organization the past, probably 2 seasons just because of the early exits. But I see the way the Padres are playing, and I see the way the Dodgers are playing, and they've been pretty much neck and neck since the All-Star break. It goes 1-2, Padres, Dodgers in terms of best record in the second half. So it'll be interesting to see, but I think a good aspect of all this, I already mentioned at the beginning of the show, Mike, this is the third time that they're meeting in 5 years. Does that add an extra layer to the rivalry?
I would say it adds a little bit extra, to the rivalry, and I agree with you, in regards to, you know, like I said, I'm not really that, panic. I'm not in panic mode, you know, like some are. I agree the Padres are a beatable team. We've already beaten them. I think the attitude of the Dodgers team and the organization this year is a lot different than years past. I think they're coming out with some conviction. They're coming up with a better game plan, which I don't think they really had, the last couple of years when we played. And so I think this is going to be a totally different team playing against the Padres, in the first playoff series that's there. And I think fans are going to be completely surprised on how they come out and play. I do agree with some of the folks that are in the chat. We do need to score runs. I do agree with Matty Man that 5 runs per game is going to get the series and probably do a lot. But again, Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts have got to step up, and play this series. They can't slouch out like they did the last few, and the bottom end of the order needs to hit also, need to produce runs, need to get on base, because if Shohei, Mookie, Freeman, and Teoscar is all hitting, pretty good, that bottom of the order needs to get on base so they can be moving and scoring runs, and that's going to win the game for them.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said there. Carlos, rivalries, a lot of Dodger fans like to say this isn't a rivalry. I am not one of those guys. I've kind of seen the way these teams have especially played this season. Padres clinch, that wild card series, and they go in with, I don't know where Mike went, disappeared. But the thing is both of these teams, they've met in the division series multiple times. Padres won one, Dodgers won another. Third time, we'll see what happens. This is a rubber match. But when they clinch and you see BLA in that stadium and they put it on the video board, does that send a little fire in your belly?
You know what? That BLA, what do fans say? We're living rent free, in their heads. So, I mean, whether Dodger fans like it or not, in the last 5 years, it is a rivalry now. The Padres Dodgers is a rivalry. We're not talking 50 years. We're not talking about moving from New York to the West Coast, the Giants. Yeah, that's a different type of rivalry. But for the last 5 years, the Padres have been, a thorn on Dodger side. And, I just want to touch on like Matty Man, what he was saying. I think Yamamoto and Flaherty are going to give up about 2 to 3 runs. I don't know about 4, but 2 to 3. Michael, yeah, you're right. The starting pitching wasn't that great, but the bullpen was great. The bullpen, I think they only allowed 1 run in I think it was 14 innings in that last series. So the bullpen's good. And so what's going to be good is that we have a fully rested bullpen. So even if Yamamoto is a little off and goes maybe 4 or 5 innings, that's fine. We have a rested bullpen, and we'll be okay for the first 2 games. So not worried about that. I think, yeah, of course, runs, if we can score 5 runs, I mean, I think the Dodgers ERA as a team is like 3.5 or something like that. So, yeah, 5 runs wins the games. Any game, almost for almost all teams in the playoffs. So, yeah, runs are important. And I think we have the offense. I think what's different this season over the last 2 years is Ohtani, Teoscar. These guys weren't in the lineup before. And if you look, because I have it here. If you look at the last, let's do 15 games. Ohtani's batting 628. Teoscar's batting 343. The other player who's hot in the last 15 games was Hernandez, Kike Hernandez, 407. So even Lux was batting 346. Those guys, if we, like I said, Ohtani and Hernandez are some 2 players that weren't in this picture last year. So that's going to make a big difference. The guys who need to step it up is Betts. Betts is definitely, I mean, like I said, he's in a slump. He was in a slump last year going into the postseason. He can't have this again. He's got to get hits. So, the Padres beat LA. I love it, man. I think it's great for baseball, and I love it. I wish we had a chant that said, Padres freaking suck or something like that. We would chant at Dodger Stadium.
We'll have to get a better jingle than that, Carlos. That's why we call you Carlos the Gambler, not Carlos the Musician. We'll think of something better when if fans can even go to Petco Park, because that's a good segue to kind of go into the next part of this whole thing. And Simeon brought it up in the chat where tickets for this game, I knew it was going to happen. It was going to be locked to the residents in the area. It's not uncommon for other sports to do this. It's just kind of uncommon in stadiums that have more than 40,000 seats. Obviously, if you haven't, you've been living under a book, and you haven't seen the news, Padres, Petco Park, they're just locking it out for only a specific area codes linked to like credit card, debit card, whatever you're using. They did the same thing in 2022. They're doing the same thing again here. Obviously, because of the close vicinity between Los Angeles and San Diego, and the history of Dodger fans, and multiple Dodger fan groups going down and taking over Petco Park time and time again. They don't want that. It's bad luck for the Padres if it happens in October. Mike, what are your thoughts on it? Because I knew it was going to happen, so I'm not too mad about it, but does look a little wrong if you're the Padres. It kind of makes you look a little weak. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong at all. I mean, I'm the same way as you. I was just waiting for social media to blow up at any time. With Padres are only selling to local and certain zip codes only. And like you said, the Padres aren't the only team that does this. There's other teams that do this also. So I'm not that bummed out about it. I am kind of it's kind of a bummer for people that are like live in Rancho, live in Riverside, those areas that are Dodger fans that wanted to go down there, and be able to see the game, and they're probably not going to be able to get in, because of their zip code, which is kind of dumb. But they're selling it out. In some ways, I kind of understand it. They want their fans in there. They saw what the crowd was like when they played against the Braves, and they want that same energy in there. And if they have a whole bunch of Dodger fans that come in there, and they're not going to have that. So I kind of get it.
Carlos, you're a season ticket holder. You've been to a bunch of games. What are your entire thought process in the idea of locking out any fan from coming to a game? Because my thing is one day I want to go to a playoff game around say if I wanted to go to LA and fly out there. Well, my zip code's all the way in Delaware. Are they going to block me out? I don't ever anticipate the Dodgers ever doing that. So, what are your thoughts on the Padres doing it? Let your heart out on this one.
For sure, I will. It's a bunch of bullshit. I mean, how do you do that to just whoever buys a ticket, whoever has the money to buy a ticket, buy the damn ticket. Doesn't matter where you live. I don't even care if you're going to buy the tickets to resell the tickets. Just freaking don't block out people. It's so stupid. So what, are they afraid that they won't get that the cheers, as many cheers that they need for the Padres to win the game? I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I know that you have posted something, tweeted something to texted something in the group text this morning. I couldn't believe it. And I tried to buy tickets, and it doesn't even give you the option to select an area. So you know what? But the funny thing is how stupid do they think LA fans are? I mean, just change your fucking VPN, pardon my language, change your VPN and freaking buy it down in San Diego somewhere, or call I'm sure everybody has families that live out in San Diego. I have a nephew who lives out there. Just ask him to buy my tickets. I'll be there with Dodger gear, It's it's pathetic. It's stupid. I can't believe they did it again. And they're proud of it, I've read all these posts on Facebook with Padres and Dodger fans arguing, and it's they're always criticizing Dodger Stadium, that it's a shithole. And I'm like, dude, I've been to San Diego. Yeah, the park is nice. But once what they warn you about? They warn you about the zombies. I'm like, what zombies? What are you guys talking about? Is it like the Walking Dead? No. After the game, all the homeless people start coming into the Petco Park area asking for money and food and all this shit. So I'm like, what are you talking about? So Dodger Stadium is a dump, but it's okay for you guys to have all these zombie homeless people coming over here. It's like, no, man, it's like, it's to me, it's frustrating. I think it's ridiculous. And Mike, please tell me, what other MLB team does this? Please, I don't know, because I've never heard this besides the Padres.
I've heard of some teams that are back east that have done it. I don't know the exact team, but I've heard of other teams that, in the American League that have done it. Cody may know a little bit more, but some things that I've read is like this isn't an uncommon thing, to happen.
Yeah, Juan and I had, a conversation in that same, text thread that Carlos was talking about. The NFL's done it. The Chargers, when they were in San Diego, they did it. Whenever, the Raiders came to town. In baseball, Mike, you're right. The only other American League team that I could think that did it, that I definitively saw, was someone posted the same thing for the New York Yankees. And that one I kind of understand, because it is a massive city, like it's New York, but I imagine the only fans that are going to be going to Yankees games in New York at a home game are going to be Yankees fans, not like California, where there's so many teams, especially so many teams still left in the postseason, or that have been making the postseason year in and year out. But yeah, I don't know. It's just a bad look. I knew it was going to happen. I love that you bring up the fact that, I don't like stadiums that are kind of like in the city. I've only been to Dodger Stadium like twice. I just like that it's kind of in like the middle of nowhere. It's surrounded by parking lots, because I feel like you don't have that issue. Dude, I go to a lot of Phillies games. It is not a good. It's not a good area once you get out of the the Philadelphia stadium like vicinity. I don't think you would really have that with Dodger Stadium. Most people are just fighting to get back home or get back to their hotel, like I was. So I agree with you there. I just think it's a bad look, but I also think fans are going to be smart. You said it. I don't know how they block it, because the one thing I read is that they check the zip code that's linked to the credit card or debit card, and if it's different, then they'll block it. But if that's not the issue, then you could just have a VPN, or just say, hey, go to your friend, go to your uncle, go to whoever, and be like, hey, can you just buy these tickets, and I'll Venmo you, or I'll do whatever to give you the money back. There's going to be Dodger fans there. I 100% expected them to be. You can't block everybody, but it is a tactic they've used in the past. But I'll also ask you this, Carlos. I think it was Fox Sports put it out. What stadium has a better atmosphere for the postseason? I know you've been hypercritical of the fans this season, especially. I think it's hard to kind of argue against the Padres right now, and I think most fans, including Dodger fans, are kind of in agreement on that. What do the fans have to do to get hyped for the series?
Man, so we've had this conversation before. I mean, when you go to Dodger Stadium, there's probably like about, I don't know, I guess 3 groups of fans. There's like the diehard baseball Dodger fans who know the entirety of the game and really know the magnitude of the game. Like, when you should try to like be loud to distract the batters or get into the batter's head, if that's even possible. But there's a lot of fans, man. There's a lot of fans that go there to get drunk, to get wasted, just have a good time. And I'm not criticizing that. I think that's great. I think that's cool. You go with friends and you're not even watching the game, and then when you hear like everybody screaming, they turn around, it's a home run or something, and typically it's a fucking fly ball. But I think that's okay. I'm not like saying that's not the kind of fans the Dodgers want. That's fine. I think any fan is welcome to Dodger Stadium. The Padres, yeah, I see it. I saw the end of yesterday's game. Every single I think they were standing for the last 2 innings, waving the towel. I mean, they were loud, but also I think also too, they don't go to the postseason as often as the Dodgers do, and so any chance they get, I mean, they got to take advantage, because they don't know if they're going to go next year, right? Because I keep saying the Padres went 2022, then they didn't make it 2023. The Diamondbacks did. Now the Padres are back 2024. The Diamondbacks are not. So if you follow this sequence, if there's any logic to it, next year the Padres won't be in. So you got the Padre fans have to take full advantage of this, and hopefully they most likely won't be in next year. The Dodgers, on the other hand, we're in the playoffs every single season, and not saying that it's monotonous, but it's to some fans it's like, okay, we'll be in the postseason next year. Even when we were talking about the champagne, that's why the Dodgers as an organization, the players and Roberts, they got to show they got to appreciate when they make the postseason. Go let it out, man. Pop those champagne bottles, the Budweiser, whatever, whoever's sponsoring your freaking the beer that's sponsoring baseball. Get drunk, man. Have a good time, because you shouldn't take it for granted. You don't know what's going to happen next year. This year was tough. A lot of injuries. It was a long season, but we made it. Best record in the major leagues. But never take it for granted. Yeah, I mean, yeah. If you the answer to your question is yes, the Padres Stadium seems to be a little louder than Dodger Stadium, but Dodger Stadium. Like I said, I won't be there, and I hope that people that go there can appreciate it. It's a different crowd now. There's a lot of people, like a lot of Japanese people now coming to see Otani. They only seem to cheer when Otani's batting, but hopefully they'll understand the magnitude of the game. Hopefully they can push, cheer for the whole team in general all the time, because if you want Otani to get his first ring, and it's not just him that's going to beat the Padres. It takes a whole entire team to beat the Padres.
You bring up a great point, Carlos, where, the Dodgers have made the postseason 12 straight years. They've won the division in 11 of those years. They've been guaranteed a spot in the National League Division Series 11 of those years. Mike, does it get hard to, get, I wouldn't say invested, but excited for the early rounds of the postseason? Because I think if the Dodgers, as they go deeper, like you get to the NLCS or the World Series, I don't think they'll have any problem cheering or selling out the crowd. People also have to remember it's the largest stadium in the National League, especially the largest that's remaining in the playoffs right now. It's like 54,000 seats. Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia, everybody loves to point at those fans, and they are really good fans. I've seen it up close. My friend's a season ticket holder for there as well, and I've seen the videos. You all seen everybody talk about Philadelphia's crowd. Their stadium only holds like 42,000 people. It's very enclosed. It's very small. Everything's going to sound loud. I don't want to talk about acoustics or anything, but that's just science. Dodger Stadium, it's nice and open. But Mike, what do the Dodgers have to do to get this team or to get the crowd into it?
It's kind of a hard one. I was at the playoffs last year. At the crowd was kind of into it when Kershaw was struggling in that first inning, and then God, what was it? Was it like the fourth inning or fifth inning? Brewstar came in and he was fired up. He came off the mound. He was yelling. He was screaming. He was pointing at the crowd, and they didn't really respond to him. That was there. So that was a little shocking to me. I think I don't know. It's kind of a hard one because I think if the team starts playing well, and they get to an early lead, or if they're down by one or two and there's a good comeback, the crowd's going to be really into it. There's a lot of media coverage of Dodger Stadium right now about are the crowds going to match San Diego's crowd. I honestly agree with Juan. I don't think, or not Juan, Carlos. I don't think that they're going to match it. And I agree. I've been to a lot of games this year. There is a lot of Japanese folks that are in there now, and they stand up for Otani, and they got their phones out. They're trying to film everything, on every hit that he's doing. And I totally agree. They need to get that energy for every batter that's coming up. That's going to come up to bat, and support the team. But I think, if I would, it'd be kind of nice, have Dave Roberts come out and start waving his hands up in the air, trying to get the crowd, into the game. When the players come off the field, have them start waving their arms up and down, getting the crowd up and, get some interaction, that's there because, they're doing is what they got their heads down. They're looking right in. They're all business, it seems like, and they're not really that excited. This is the most excited I've seen this team, playing the last 2 weeks of the playoffs, going in. They're playing with some fire, and we've talked about this plenty of times. This team, I didn't think they had what it took, to go, very deep because they just seemed real lethargic and. It didn't seem like they were into it. They didn't play with any certainty or fire, and there was nobody that's there. Seeing Will Smith, seeing Mookie Betts, seeing Otani actually, getting all jacked up, when he's making a hit and getting a double. I think the crowd's going to really react to it, if the team follows.
Hey Cody, Let me add one more thing, Cody. So, yeah, like you mentioned, I'm a season ticket holder. I didn't buy the playoff strip. And I have a lot of friends. I have like a list of like, kid you not, I have like a list of like 60 people who buy tickets from me. And this year compared to last year, I've had like in the last 2 days, like over 20 people hit me up for tickets. So there is a different hype this year, and that's what I'm saying. This year is different than previous years. And is it Otani? Sure, it could be Otani. It could be, it could be Yamamoto, Teoscar, but it's a different vibe this year, and it's not the same team. And I'm telling you guys, it's not the same team. I've been to games, and it's just, I mean, you guys have all watched it. I'm sure everybody here on the chat, you guys have seen as many games as I have, and it's a different team. And like I said, uh, I see the Dodgers. I think it's going to go 5. I think they'll clinch at Dodger Stadium on the 5th game. I don't think it'll be a sweep. I don't think it'll be like a 3-1. I think it'll go 5. So, guys, be ready. It's going to be a nail biter. It's going to be a stressful series. I think Danny's going to a game. It sounds like it. Yeah, be loud. Get the people next to you loud. Get them hyped up, because we have to. We got to get behind this team so we can pull off this series. And like I said, the main thing is to shut all these people up. Padre fans, Dodger fans who have doubt in the Dodgers. There's a lot of them, Cody, and well, I won't mention names, but there's a lot of people out there who just don't believe the Dodgers are going to win this series.
I don't think you need to call out Juan like that, Carlos. So let it be known, Prince of Darkness isn't here today. This is a safe space. We can share our fandom and our belief in the Dodgers, but something that I've been going back and forth of, and I'll get into that probably in the latter segment. We'll go into more of your prediction, Carlos, as well. But this was a great prelude to get ready for the games. But let's go to Game 1, where we had our first major update. It was originally penciled in that Jack Flaherty was going to get the Game 1 start. Yamamoto was going to get Game 2. They opt to flip it based off a variety of factors. You read in between the lines, and what Andrew Friedman said, Dave Roberts all alluded to. It sets Jack Flaherty up better for Game 5. It sets the bullpen better up for Games 3 and 4, where me and Carlos have pretty much already put that on the dartboard. We've hit the center, where it's probably going to be a bullpen game or some form or another of the bullpen pitching the bulk of that Game 4, if there is a Game 4. Mike, I'll kick it off with you. You're my Yamamoto guy. We've been going back and forth on Yamamoto probably for the entire season, and dating all the way back to the winter when he was a free agent. Good move, bad move to start Yamamoto Game 1?
I think it's a good move. I'm not. I don't disagree with it. Like I said, I'm kind of bummed because I bought tickets for Game 2 because I thought he was playing. But when I was writing for Dodgers Daily, I wrote a couple articles that Yamamoto was going to be the ace of the team and he was going to be a Game 1 starter. So this is not surprising to me. He can do it. I've seen him pitch. He's got experience. There's a lot of people, that say, what experience does he have? He's a rookie. Well, he's was a starter for the Olympic team. He was a starter for the World Baseball Classic. So he's got some experience, and those aren't, any slouch of venues that are people watching. The World Baseball Classic was in Miami, last year, which is a big venue with millions of people around the world watching. So he's used to that, and what Dodger fans will see from Yamamoto is a different pitcher that's going to come out with some conviction, come out with some focus, and he is going to be dialed in because this is what the Dodgers paid for in him, and this is what I've seen and watched him for over 2 years before he signed for the Dodgers. When he gets in the playoff situation, he's a totally different pitcher, and he's locked in and he's ready to go. So I'm happy to see it, and I think he's going to do an excellent job.
Yeah, Carlos, we've kind of debated, how the starting rotation is going to look. Obviously, if you go back to April, we're expecting Tyler Glass now to be leading the way, and, Gavin Stone perhaps being the 4th or 5th starter, Kershaw maybe thrown in there. A lot of things went sideways. It seems like the Dodgers really only have a 3-man rotation, which, to give everybody hope, I think is enough to get them a World Series championship. If you look at the Texas Rangers roster last year, they only had around, 2 good starters. Dodgers, you go way back in 2020, they just had a lot of rookies like they do this year, and just two, main dogs in the rotation in Kershaw and Buehler. And then Urias was the kind of hybrid between the two. You look at Yamamoto starting game one. Are you confident, or would you have rather gone with the sure bet, who's kind of pitched deeper into games down the stretch with Jack Flaherty?
Yeah, so I I would have liked Jack to stay game one starter. I can see a little bit of why they did it, giving Yamamoto the option to pitch, in case it goes to game five, which I think it will. And I guess their logic would be let him start game five. If he doesn't do well, throw in Jack Flaherty. I mean, it's going to be all hands on deck on game five. So I think that's why they did it. Look, it's Yamamoto or Flaherty. I feel like every game could be a bullpen game. I think everybody's got a short leash. I think if Yamamoto's not looking good, he'll be out by the third inning. It'll be a bullpen game. Same with Jack Flaherty. If he's not looking good, it'll be a bullpen game. So we could be looking basically. I mean, that's how the Dodgers have played all season long. I mean, I think you've been the biggest critic about Dodgers pitching rotation only goes 5 innings or less. They hardly ever go 6. So look, if we can get 4 or 5 out of Flaherty and Yamamoto, I don't even care what game they pitch. I think it's a win-win for the Dodgers. I think that's just the way the Dodgers are structured. I think that's the way the Dodgers win. There's somebody that said Jack is probably hurt, just an option. I don't think so. I don't think he's hurt. I think it's just a better option for game 5 because, I know we're going to come to predictions later on. This series is going to go 5 games. I don't even see any of the two teams kicking, just kind of, sweeping these either team, So I think that's why Yamamoto starting game 1.
I like the logic behind it. I think for the past couple weeks, I've been on the Yamamoto should start game 1 train. Seems like they were building to that. It's obvious. The best stuff, best pure stuff, whether you're talking velocity, movement, pitch mix, pitch selection, the ability to hit the corners. Yamamoto is the best pitcher on the Dodgers rotation. I would even say if he didn't get, hurt with the shoulder injury and he played a full year, we're definitely talking him in that same territory as probably Paul Skeens, where Skeens has like the flashy fastball, had an ERA under 2. Yamamoto, after that first start in Korea, was pretty much one of the best pitchers in the National League. That first start back against the Cubs, I know it's the Cubs. They missed the playoffs. They didn't really have a really good offense, but he looked excellent that start. He had a lot of strikeout stuff working. And another thing we debated, before that Padres series, Carlos, was, do you bump up Yamamoto to start that series, or do you hold him off? And I believe you were along the line saying hold your cards to the postseason. They haven't seen Yamamoto since, I think, his last start against them had to have been in, April 12th. April 12th was the last time Yamamoto started against the Padres. He was a completely different pitcher than the first 2 months of the season. I think it's a smart move that the Dodgers bumped him up to the 1, because if he's not built up to go 6, which I don't think he is, he could, but I think the Dodgers think, hey, can we get 4 or 5 good innings? If he gets in trouble, we'll have the bullpen locked down early. I think they're anticipating the bullpen to being impactful in that game. Game 2, Jack Flaherty, that's a starter that's been stretched out all year, hasn't had any health issues, besides, some of the things before around the trade deadline about his back and some scans there. He's been healthy all season. He's made all of his turns in the rotation. He can give you length if, say, the bullpen has to do some extra work in game 1. You take the day off for game or in between game 2 and 3, and then you throw out Walker Buehler, and then your rotation's kind of getting ready to get reset. Either pitcher going game 1, only one that would have made a start on game 5 is Flaherty, because Yamamoto only wants to pitch, once a week or every 6 days. He's still on that cycle. They're not going to break that this year, especially after he had the shoulder injury. I'm fine with it, because if, say, the Dodgers, like Carlos say, go 5 games and Jack Flaherty has to start that 5th game, Yamamoto would be starting game 1 of the NLCS, which, with 3 starters, it sets them up past the NLDS. And I know they have to look at these, get 3 wins right now, but you also have to make sure that you're not destroying your pitching staff, especially in these later rounds in the NLCS where it's 7 games, the World Series it's 7 games. So I like the move. I think it's a good move. I thought it was the move that they originally should have went with. Any other thoughts on that, Mike, before we move on?
Yeah, one thing for people to know is especially for the Japanese pitchers, when they have that much time off, normally in the NPB, those pitchers are going 6, 7, 8 innings, and they're throwing 100 plus pitches a game. So that's why they go to that 6 days rest. So this, coming over to the Dodgers and only going 5 innings and getting pulled after five, or getting pulled after four, not really, pushing them. That's in there. So his arm, like you're saying, his arm isn't built up like it was, when he was playing over in Japan. So I don't know, man. I just think that I think that he's going to go deep into the games. I won't be surprised if he pitches 7 or 8 innings during the first game.
You're muted, Cody.
Thanks for that. I wand myself. That's what happens when you host a show. You turn into wand. You make mistakes. We got a huge super chat from the right field pavilion. Yamamoto in 2 games versus the Padres this season, 0-1 with a 12 ERA, 6 innings, 8 runs, 2 home runs, 8 Ks, 2 walks. Not sure if you remember both games, but the Padres were attacking him on the first pitch. I'm a bit surprised with the move. And I understand it. It's kind of what I alluded to, where it's the first time that Yamamoto has pitched, against the Padres since the early parts of the season. I don't really I count the start in Korea, but I don't count the start in Korea. It was his first start in the big leagues in a whole, different stadium across the world. I don't think he was ready yet. The spring training ended early. When he came back, his next start against the Cardinals, he looked amazing. He looked great. And then pretty much from then on out, he was one of the best pitchers in baseball, and he was certainly a top 2 pitcher on the Dodgers rotation. I think he does have a lot to prove against the Padres. It has been a team, the super chat's right. This is a team that attacked him early. They ate his fastball. They didn't, chase his breaking stuff. They were just hunting strikes because one thing with Yamamoto's game that he does that it's similar to Kershaw, where he would very much like to start the count 0-1. He wants to pound a fastball. He wants to get something in the zone. But I've also seen him kind of reverse it up, try to throw that splitter, try to throw that curveball, kind of keep the hitters off balance. Anything else that you've seen with Yamamoto this entire season, Carlos, before we start moving on?
Yeah, no, right field pavilion. I love the name. I agree with you. If I think what Cody has said earlier, we talked about this last week. I am so glad that Yamamoto did not pitch in that last series. I know they can go to video and look at all these videos, but the fact that they kept them away, kind of like said, hey, don't pitch this series. We're going to pitch you in the playoffs, because we knew we were going to get to this point. And I'm sure the Dodgers are reading this, what you just wrote about attacking the first pitch, and what Cody just alluded to. That splitter has to work. That's got to be his first pitch. Throw that splitter looking like a fastball, and then work his fastball up high. That's what's got to work. I mean, that's what I'm hoping for, man. I am so pumped for Saturday's game. I'm sad it's Thursday right now, because I'm super pumped. I'm gonna go. I think we're gonna go to the casino and we're gonna watch the game over there, not at Dodger Stadium. But
read my mind.
I am pumped. Yeah,
you read my mind, Carlos.
Yeah, I am pumped now. I am pumped now. I like the right field pavilion, his comment, and I hope the Dodgers, and I'm sure the Dodgers are definitely aware of what happened, the first couple of games with the Padres, with Yamamoto, and I think Yamamoto's game plan is going to be different. Let's start it with the splitter and, work the fastball afterwards. So, like I said, I don't know. Right now, I'm just like really pumped. I wish the game started in the next 5 minutes.
Let's kind of get into the series as a whole. I recently put out an article on Dodgers Beat saying strengths and weaknesses for the team heading into October, specifically looking at the Padres in mind, because like I said at the beginning of the episode, I didn't really anticipate the Braves moving on at all. I always had the Padres kind of circled saying, hey, fate just happened to work out. Dodgers got the number 1 seed. We're going to have to get a rematch with San Diego. You already mentioned your X factor, Carlos. You said it has to be Mookie Betts. what does this team have to do to win this series besides Betts?
So pitching wise, and I see it a lot, the Dodger pitching staff cannot let the guard down when they get to the bottom of the lineup. You cannot, and I can't even think of the guy's name right now. You can't let the catcher, Cody, help me out here. What's the catcher's name? The Japanese, is he Japanese?
Higashioka?
You cannot let him beat us. You know, the guy, the X factor for the Padres, I don't even think it's Profar. It's freaking Jackson Merrill. That guy's a stud. The guy's a rookie, you guys. I'm sure you guys are aware he's a rookie. He's a stud. I mean, you don't give him anything good to hit. I'm not worried about Machado. We know Machado likes slow pitching. Pitch him away. Anything away, he's going to swing. He's going to strike out. I'm not worried about Bogarts. But don't let your guard down when we get to the bottom of the lineup. Don't get beat by the bottom of the lineup, especially by the catcher. But I mean, that's the way I see it. Offensively, the Dodgers, it's Mookie Betts. How is Freddie Freeman going to look after all this time off? After he twisted his ankle, I'm not too worried. I think he's a 280, 290 batter. He's going to get his hits. It's Mookie Betts, in my opinion, who is the X factor, who needs to step it up. Edman kind of slumping at the end of the season. He's going to kind of step it up too as well. But, like I said, the biggest difference is we never had Ohtani. We didn't have Teoscar. Kike Hernandez is batting well. You know who batting well too is, you guys, your least favorite player, CT3. And so he
is.
You got to give him some playing time. You got to play your hot hands. I don't care, who. If Edman's not hitting, then Chris Taylor's got to play. That's it. We can't just stick to these matchups. We got to let these hot hands play. Lux is hitting well. Let him play. So, I mean, there's just so much going on that I mean, if you watch it, yeah. I mean, right now I'm getting tongue-tied because I'm just so excited. Let's freaking go, man.
Yeah, Mike, I'll ask you the same question. Mookie Betts I think it's the one everybody's picking on. For if it's fair or not, it's up to our audience to decide. I think the criticism is fair, given how he's played the past two Octobers. What are your thoughts on how the Dodgers win this series? Whether it's the offense, the pitching, the bullpen, what are you kind of looking for the Dodgers to do if they're going to win?
I'm not as worried about the pitching as I was the last couple of years. I think the pitching is going to do good and be fine. The only thing that I kind of have questions on, is Dave Roberts going to go straight to the bullpen like super early and not let some of these pitchers get out of the jams that they can get out of. I would like to see Landon Knack get a shot. Don't sleep on Landon Knack. That guy is a gamer. He can throw the ball, and when the time comes, he can perform. In the big stage. It was kind of like when Kershaw was there. I was very disappointed that they didn't let Ryan Pepio pitch. And they went to a bullpen game right after that because he would have shown what he had also. So don't forget about those guys in regards to the pitching. I agree that Mookie Betts needs to step it up, but also Freddie Freeman needs to step it up also. He needs to step his game up. He knows how to play small ball. He knows how to put the ball in the gaps. He knows how to get those singles and move runners around for Teoscar to come up and start batting him in. The thing that I'm going to be concentrating on mostly is the bottom of the lineup. Where's Will Smith at? Is his bat going to come alive? Is it going to be able to, drive in some runs? Kike, I'm not worried about Kike Hernandez. I think he's going to do good. He's got that mentality when it comes into the playoffs. That's why I think that's one of the reasons why they brought him back. Tommy Edman, I think that he needs to step his game up a little bit more and start, swinging. And he got a couple of home runs in there, and it seems like he's swinging for the fences all the time. Put the ball in play. Put the ball in the gap. The bottom of the lineup is going to be my big question. And I think the bottom of the lineup is either going to win this series for their team or it's going to lose this series for the team, because you're going to put too much pressure on the number 1, 2, and 3 batters, to be able to score runs when they need to score runs. So my big thing is Freddie Freeman, Will Smith. They need to step their game up. They need to start swinging the bat and putting the barrel on the ball and moving runners around. And then, and I completely agree with Carlos. Whoever's got the hot bat, put him in. If that's Andy Pages, if that's CT3, if that's Tommy Edman, whatever, put them in the game. Let's not get into this. Oh, I'm loyal to this guy. He's gonna play no matter what. I don't really care. Put the hot bat in there so we can move on and go to the World Series.
I agree. Before I give my take on it, Fernando put in the chat, is Henriquez making the roster? Well, Fernando, I'll probably post it again on Dodgers Beat, but I did make my 26-man roster predictions. I think the kid's got to make it. Mike, you follow a lot more minor league stuff than the average fan does. Are you in or out? Because I love the fastball, but you have to be careful because the amount of walks and the command can break you. But I just look at the roster. Gratterall's in the IL. You kind of need a right-handed flamethrower that's not named Michael Kopech. In or out on Henriquez?
Hey, Cody, before you answer,
Go.
I just want to say that guy Henriquez, he doesn't just throw a fastball; he throws breaking pitches too.
Slider.
You know what?
Yep.
He does. And so if Hudson is on that roster and he's not, man, that's the first bad move that the organization is going to do on the playoff roster, because Hudson has no reason to be on that playoff roster. He has been bad for the last 2-3 months. And this kid, granted, he doesn't have a lot of big league experience, but he's been legit. And he actually pitched against the Padres, right? I think he struck out 2 or 3 in that one inning and at home. So he's got to be in the roster, in my opinion.
Mike?
I would say Agardo for me, and not just for myself, for a lot of people that I know who I talk to that follow the minor leagues throughout the year are very surprised on what he's done so far. I wasn't a big fan of them bringing him up. I think he needed some more time. Some things that he did, in the minor leagues is, yes, he just doesn't throw 100 miles an hour. He does have a breaking ball. He can throw some off-speed stuff, that's there, but it's very, very inconsistent. Even his fastball has been very inconsistent, especially in the minors. The placement of the ball, he was throwing up high a lot. He was throwing off a lot, throwing a lot of balls. There's been plenty of games where he's gone in, as a starter or a reliever, and he didn't even last the whole inning. They pulled him just because his command was way off. So I'm really surprised on how well he's doing. If he's doing this well, and he can stick with that, his last time that he pitched, you could see some little hints of what I was talking about. His command wasn't there. He was throwing a lot of balls. And so I think once you put him on that big stage, and put him in front of that big crowd and under a pressure situation, I don't really know how well he's going to be able to handle that, and then you don't want to break that kid's confidence, that he already has, especially going into 2025, and he's could be a big part of the team, for next year. So I'm kind of on the fence of it. I kind of agree with Carlos. Daniel Hudson hasn't been all that great. If you're going to put Hudson or Edgardo up there, I don't know, man. That's a hard one because Hudson's got the experience. He's got that veteran attitude that's in there, and he might be able to step his game up and be able to deliver just that one inning. Instead of like relying on a kid, that you're kind of uncertain about. So I'm kind of on the fence of it.
And we got another super chat from the right field pavilion. Carlos, I'm starting to think that this is someone at the stadium that knows you with the season tickets, maybe. But yeah, he's chiming in on the debate right now as well. 3 keys to winning the series: 1, patience at the plate, which the Dodgers, they actually were one of the teams that had, I believe, they were either 1 or 2 in the National League in walk percentage. So that's been their motto the past couple of years. Small ball must be implemented. I think that last, stretch of games at the end of the series, especially that 3-game series against the Padres, didn't seem like they were trying to be homer happy. Andy Paz did demolish a ball into the bullpen, but they were pretty much putting the ball in play, and especially Otani, lefty-lefty matchup, just puts it where the fielders can't get to it, and then ends up getting the second on the throw. So that's the stuff we're looking for. Manager situations will be crucial. Can't agree with you more. I love Dave Roberts. I've gotten to chat with Dave Roberts. I think given how the roster has dealt with things last year, this season, and his entire tenure for the most part, he's done a great job. He is one of the winningest managers in baseball history and in Dodger history. He's inching really close, to Tommy Lasorda territory in terms of wins and winning percentage for the Dodgers. You can't, knock him down for that. But we've seen time and time again, as much as I like him, make some boneheaded decisions, and it seems like sometimes he gets outmatched in postseason games. So, especially with some of the managers that are still around in the National League, Shilt's an experienced manager. Rob Thompson's been to multiple NLCS appearances and a World Series. Yeah, it's definitely going to be a big thing. Thank you, Right Field Pavilion, for another super chat. My last thoughts on Henriquez before I kind of give my keys to how the Dodgers go forward. I think the Dodgers use him just for a 5-game series. A guy that you wrote on, Mike, who I think definitely would make the roster over him down the stretch if they get to the LCS or the World Series. I had as my outside looking in, and that's Kasperius. Is that how you say his name, Mike? Yeah, so I think he'll make it because that's a guy that can give you length. He's a hybrid, starter and reliever, and he's shown better ability, more mature prospect with the ball. Anything on him before we move on?
No, I totally agree. I think and I hope that Ben Kasperius will make the team or make the roster, for the playoffs. I completely agree with that. If it came down to him or Edgardo, it'd be a no-brainer for me. It would be Ben Kasperius.
Yeah, and then I agree with you guys. The keys to winning the series are pretty simple. I think number one, whatever happened last year in the NLDS in that first inning where they gave up, 5, 6 runs, that could not happen. They can't. I would go as far to say they can't give up a single run in the first inning. As soon as one run is scored by the Padres, it just seems like they took all the momentum out of the Atlanta Braves. The Dodgers crowd, they've been in there, 12 straight years of success. If you give them a lead to play with, like any other team around baseball or any team in sports, they're gonna, get the adrenaline off that, and they're gonna, the vibes are gonna be high. Dodgers have to score first. They have to score first. Doesn't mean they have to score often or blow them out. They just have to score first. Otani is definitely going to be a factor in this series because I just don't think the Padres can just quote unquote walk him because he's proven that he can steal almost 60 bases for a reason. And with the hitters hitting after him and Betts and Freeman and Muncy and Will Smith, who have been heating up as of late, they're going to be dependent on winning games. You cannot have another season of 1 for 21 between two of your top 3 MVP hitters. It just can't happen. Betts is a big part of that. They have to score runs. They have to get hits. We'll see what happens. I'm actually, I know Juan. I'm hoping we can get Juan for one of these pre-games or post-games because I know Juan's been hypercritical of the starting rotation and what we got going on. I'm actually not even worried about the pitching at all. Like Mike said, I think the pitching's fine. It's not where we thought it was going to be. If I'm thinking in my head, man, imagine if Glasnow and Stone didn't get hurt, they probably have the best pitching rotation in baseball entering the postseason. Say, if you're not saying the Phillies or something like that. But, I think they can get by with Flaherty. I think they can get by with Yamamoto. I think they can get by with Buehler, especially if he's pitching, the way he pitched against the Braves and against the Padres. But the bullpen's going to have to be locked down. But the big thing for me is just situational hitting. I feel like every year where the Dodgers don't move on, it's because they just don't hit well in situational hitting situations. Whether it's 2 outs, runners in scoring position, runners in scoring position in general, it's just something that they flat out haven't done well, the past couple seasons. I think I had it written down somewhere over here. Their stat line was pretty bad with runners in scoring position the last 2 postseasons. In 2022 and 2023 combined, their slash line was 202, 275, and 326 with a WRC plus of 69. That's almost 40 points below league average. And for an offense that involves multiple MVPs, you had Trey Turner, you had Mookie Betts, you had Freddie Freeman. They just can't do it. So that's my keys to it. Do they pull out of it? I don't know. I got to see my whole thing that I've been telling everybody, whether it's on social media or to you guys or to Juan. I just, in my head, I just can't wrap around them moving on, but my heart says they will. But I'm interested to see what your picks are. Carlos, I'll get to you last because you kind of already previewed it. Mike, what are your picks for this series? What do you got going on? Who wins? How many games?
My picks for this series, I think the Dodgers win in 4. And this will probably shock Juan and Carlos and everybody else. I'm not going to be surprised if they sweep them. It won't be a shock to me. The way that the team is winning. I'm probably the only one in the chat and the only one that's been writing for Dodgers Beat in the beginning of the season. I never thought that they were going to the World Series anyways. My thing was they were going next year. That next year was the year for me. I bought into the team. I think that they're gonna move past the Padres, play the Phillies, and they're gonna go into the World Series and actually win the World Series in 5.
Bold, Mike, bold.
Yeah,
Not only did you give us the DS, you gave us everything, and you even changed your prediction from the beginning of the season. I like it. I don't know how much of a sweep. If they sweep, I gotta think of something to send you because that would be crazy. I couldn't even fathom a sweep.
Hey, Cody.
Hey, how many of my predictions have come true in the chat?
Cody, you said you Dodgers are going to win with your heart or with your brain. What did you say?
When I think about the predictions in my head, because I'm gonna let you know. I'll let you go last here. This one. When I'm writing my preview article, I have the predictions tab for everybody that's writing for Dodgers Beat. I'm writing it. I'm writing out all the stats I see, all the numbers coming into the series. I see why the experts are picking the Dodgers to lose. The starting rotation's thin. The lineup has gone ice cold in October. The injuries are insurmountable. We haven't even gotten into Freddie Freeman's ankle. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? Is he going to be, just on the bench for the first 2 games? Because I imagine he's still going to be on the roster. Miguel Rojas, he's a 35, 36-year-old middle infielder with a groin injury. How productive is he really going to be? There's a lot of question marks with this Dodgers team. But then I look at how the Padres played against the Braves. I start looking on paper with the rotation, how it can get by. Honestly, when is the last time the best team in baseball won the World Series? It's probably 2020. That's probably the last year that, the best record-wise went to the World Series and won the World Series. Every other year since then, you had an 88-win Braves team win it. You had a Phillies team make it and almost win the World Series with only 86 wins. You had a Diamondbacks team that was 16, 18 games out of first place make it to the World Series, and you had a Rangers team that was 1 game out of away from missing the playoffs entirely. I don't think you need to have the best, rotation offense to make things work. So my heart is telling me that they win this series in 5 games. I don't know how they do it. I feel like Ohtani's going to be the biggest reason why in terms of offense, but I think if it goes 5 games. I think Flaherty's going to have to be that key guy in this whole series, but I just am scared when they go to Petco. I think winning the first 2 games of this series is so important. That way you don't go into Petco with an elimination on your mind. Say if you even drop both of them, then you can go back to Dodger Stadium where you've played well all season. So change course. I didn't go full Juan. I'm still positive. We'll see what his pick is.
Okay. So first of all, I love the chat. I mean, the right field pavilion. We appreciate you, man. First thing is, JR, please tell me who the people you're betting. I would love to place that bet as well. So message me if you want. I want to put some money down against those people too. Michael Carrillo, man, this is the Dodger fan I'm talking about. It's are you a Dodger fan or not? It's Padres win in 4 because Dave screws up badly. You know what? The Dodgers beat them in a 3-game series, 2 games. It was playoff atmosphere. I don't know if you went to the game. And then, Danny, you break my heart. Yes, I said 2025 too. Wow, Danny. Then why go to the game? You already know they're going to lose. I don't understand why you're spending your money to go. JR is my man. I don't even know who JR is. They won't hit you. They never do. I love it. He even rhymed right there too. So, hey, look, my money, if I could bet anybody, I'm all in for the Dodgers. Why? Because this is not the same team. I've said already like 2-3 times. They have Ohtani, who's on fire right now. They have Teoscar, who's hitting well, and the pitching staff. This is how we play. We're going to pitch 4 or 5 innings. That's it. Goes right to the bullpen. We have a rested bullpen, and that's how we're going to win. I just can't reading all these comments. It's like, come on, are we Dodger fans or are we not Dodger fans? So I don't know. I'm pumped up. I'm ready. I think the Dodgers will take. I think it's going to go 5, maybe 4, but I think it's going to go 5. I think Dodgers will win in 5, and it's going to be a great game. I wish I would go to Game 5. Buy tickets now because they're probably cheaper right now before the prices get hiked up.
Oh, the prices have gone up because when I was looking at Game 2 a week before, they weren't too bad, but they've gone way up now.
Yeah, I know our own Steve Webb will be there at Game 5 if there is a Game 5. I'm predicting a Game 5. Carlos is kind of along those same lines. Mike's going crazy. He thinks they're sweeping. If they sweep, like I said, we got to give him his flowers. That would probably be the most surprising thing.
Ohtani will power the Dodgers to win the World Series. Go Dodgers. That's the attitude we need, you guys. Come on. We got to be behind this team. We got to positive energy, positive vibe. Let's go. What Cody says. What's the vibe guy? Kermeyer. He's the vibe, dude. You guys got to go. Oh my gosh. Let's go Dodgers. Bah, 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 bah. Hey, you want me to start the cheer? Let's go Dodgers.
There you go. I think
look at the 2017 team. How bad they were. And how far that they went. That's there. So I have the utmost confidence in this team that they're going to move on and that they're and I already made my prediction. For the World Series.
Yeah, Oscar.
Yeah, I think
Oscar Leon. Let's fucking go Dodgers. I love it. That's the attitude. Yeah. Let's go.
I think that's one thing that I've seen a lot of fans starting to go back and forth with, especially as we get closer to the series. It's what I said, the fear of, we in 2022 where they lost in 4 games. Carlos, you already alluded to it. 2 different teams. These are 2 different teams. The Dodgers in 2022, they had Trayce Thompson taking 4 at-bats in a winner-go-home game. Love Trayce Thompson. He's my guy. But he shouldn't be starting to do or die. We have Teoscar Hernandez. We have Shohei Ohtani. We have enough pitching to get the job done. Probably the best bullpen of my time, watching Dodgers baseball over these last 15, 18 years. They can get through it. If you look at everyone in the National League, there's really nobody too overpowering where a lot of these teams are even matched. But like I said, I don't want to sound like a homer here. They don't have Shohei Ohtani, and I think he's going to show up this year.
Yeah, don't sound like the Prince of Darkness here. Look at Danny Anaya. Let's Showtime Saturday. I mean, these are Dodger fans, you guys. Come on. I love this, man. Let's go. I
think the Dodgers beat up Yu Darvish.
Yeah, I think, we brought it up earlier, and I looked it up, so I have the stat. Darvish's career ERA versus the Dodgers was 2.27. Really good. The Dodgers, he has like a 6-7 pitch mix, but this season he just isn't him. I mean, they put him in the bullpen at one point this year, and now he's starting Game 2 of the NLDS against the Dodgers, who offensively have looked really good in the second half of the season. They've actually played their best baseball offensively in the month of September. They've hit, they're hitting higher average, I believe almost 280, 290 as a team. They have a slugging percentage that's leading baseball, and they're hitting home runs, but they're also getting key, doubles, singles. They're getting runs across. Closing statement with this, someone brought it up in the chat, and I think it's interesting because it seems like every day they bring it up, and I'm curious to see your guys' opinion on it. Is it Ramen Mato 77? He asked, if the Dodgers make it to the World Series, which Mike's predicting, Ohtani pitches and does it guarantee them winning the World Series? But Ohtani is injured and out for 25. Do we let him pitch? Basically, do you take the risk and let Ohtani pitch at any point this postseason? Anyone want to answer?
I would say no during the postseason. My prediction is the Dodgers are going to win Game 5, and I won't be surprised if Ohtani comes in the 8th or 9th inning of Game 5 with the lead and starts throwing the ball.
I say.
What about you, Carlos?
If it's Game 7 or Game 6, clinching game for the Dodgers, the answer is hell yes. We are going to.
This is the vibes. This is the
hell
vibes.
Yeah, let's go. Is it Ram Nintendo? Yeah, 77.
Yeah.
Let's go. If it's for everything, yes, I'll risk everything, and I'm sure Ohtani will do the same thing too for the ring. Let's go.
I don't think it would be a Dave Roberts decision. I don't think it would be an Andrew Freeman decision. It would be a Shohei Ohtani decision if he wants to go. If they're far along enough to the point where he's faced live hitters, he's throwing bullpens, and he feels comfortable enough to give at least one inning, say 3-4 batters, let him do it. This is an entertainment business, guys. If we see him pitch after the season he had, and it's for like a meaningful thing, like getting a save in, say, the NLCS or the World Series, man, that's just you're just printing money right there on the viewership ratings. I already said the first playoff game on Saturday is probably going to be one of the most viewed playoff games of all time because of the amount of TVs that are going to be watching it for Ohtani. If he gets in on the mound on the biggest stage, I don't know, as a baseball fan, this isn't even just being a Dodger fan, as a baseball fan, how do you say no to that? I get the risk, but I think if there's one guy that could do it, it's probably him because he's kind of proved me wrong the entire year because I wasn't really sold. I wasn't sold on it, and then I see him sign and I see him play every day, and I'm like, man, this is what the Angel fans were telling me about, and I want to see it.
I wasn't sold on him either, and I think you know that, Cody, that I wasn't like, a $700 million guy, paying for one. I wasn't like on it. But, like I was saying, if it's Game 1 or, if it's in this series, the NLDS or the NLCS, and we've already got the lead, I wouldn't pitch him. If it's the World Series and it's Game 5 and the Dodgers are ahead and they're going to win, I say put him in, for at least one inning. But just like Andrew Freeman had said today, he has not seen live batters yet, since he's been throwing the ball. So I think if you start seeing some live batters, you're probably going to see him come in at some point.
Hey, not that know of, Mike. They kicked out everybody out of Dodger Stadium today, so you don't know if they.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right, Cody,
Yeah.
right. Roger was there. So,
Dodgers Stadium was closed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, Dan, you know what? I am the gambler. That's why I would gamble on Ohtani for the championship, for the ring. I'll definitely do it. And who else here? Hey, I don't know who this JR guy is, but I love JR. JR, you're spot on. You're right. Ohtani didn't get Tommy John. He just had some like scar tissue on his elbow. I don't know what it is. He can pitch. If he's ready, if Ohtani says he can pitch, Ohtani can pitch. That's it.
I'll take him over Kershaw.
Honestly, I agree with that. But yeah, lots of impact for this series coming up. I want it to be Saturday already. I'm ready for these games. I'm just as amped as Carlos. I'm getting ready for postseason baseball, especially watching all the games that I watched over this past week while I was at work. Don't tell my boss. But yeah, I mean, we're going to try to give you as much content for this postseason run that hopefully goes through the end of October. I know we have a pregame and a postgame show planned potentially for Saturday's game on Dodgers Beat. I know Mike's going to be writing. I'll have pregame and postgame articles out for the website as well. And I know Roger, like I said, he was on assignment at Dodger Stadium today. He's already posted a lot of the pregame or the pre-practice interviews with Freeman and the coaches. We got them on the Zoom call. But yeah, we hope to get more and more content. Anything else you guys want to close out before we end the show?
Of course. Hey, Los Angeles Dodgers World Series champs. I love it. You know what? I agree. Kershaw, please just watch from the dugout. Oscar Leon also say the same thing. Joe Kelly, Kershaw, please watch from the dugout. Wear your mariachi jacket. All cool. We love you still. Hey, Last thing I want to say is, as a tradition in my family, we do shots for every Dodger home run in the postseason. So if you're not at Dodger Stadium, buy a nice bottle of whatever you guys take a shot of, tequila, Patron, whatever it is. We take a shot for every home run. So we watch the game at home together. My wife, my kids, and we all take a shot together. So let's go. That's my thing. That's all I got, you guys. Let's go Dodgers!
Anything, Mike, before we get out of here?
Pretty excited for this series that's coming up. I think the Dodgers are going to do well. I think the team's going to surprise a lot of Dodger fans to show that this isn't the team, in years past, and they're going to have some drive and they're going to have some go, And I'm like Carlos, man. Go fucking Dodgers.
Here we go, yeah. And like I said, be on the lookout. Make sure you subscribe. Look at the page. Make sure you got the notification bells on. We're going to have lots of stuff going on for the next couple of weeks. Hopefully they play baseball all the way until then. But that'll do it for this episode, and we'll see you on the next live.